Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be painting a water lily on a pond. I really hope you enjoy it. So I'm starting out by laying out all of the colours that I think I'll be needing, and I'm using a paint medium, a mixing medium by Liquin. All of their paint mixers have different finishes and different outcomes if you use them, and different qualities, so it's good to investigate whichever one you like to use, what type of look you want to your paintings, and also what kind of a feel. So in this case I'm using one that has a slight gloss finish. I really love the look of glossy paintings. I like anything shiny and so actually, in actual fact, when this dries, it's not as shiny as maybe I would like. I think it could be even shinier, but anyway, so it has a slight gloss, and it's quite good for me because I like to do very small details, and it provides that opportunity. And even though it looks yellow in the bowl thing, it's actually a clear situation. So also the paint that I'm using is Michael Harding, and it is extremely expensive. So therefore I hardly have any colours. I've only got the majority of the colours that I'm using are in the series 1 and 2. This is merely a pricing strategy that paint manufacturers use, and so when you see these when you see paints, regardless of which type, whether it be acrylic or watercolor or oil, they tend to be grouped into these categories, and it just means that the ones that have the higher number are much harder to source, so or much harder to create, so they tend to be more expensive. So I'm using the cheaper the cheaper section. However, even though I say it's cheaper, they are still pretty pricey, and I find that the pigmentation and results that I get from this type of paint is amazing. And I've actually been using oils for many years, so I felt like it was okay if I use this type of paint, because I've used Winsor & Newton artist grade for a very long time, and other artist grade paints, and whilst I do really like the finish of them, I think it is nice to experiment with paints that have that have less filler in them. So as you can see, I'm doing little details on the lily. I like to create a lot of little details even in the first layer. So if you're new to oil painting, oils, unlike acrylic or watercolor, is made up of several different layers. So you can actually use this process if you wanted to create watercolor and acrylic, but most of the time, because acrylic dries so fast, you don't need to, and same with watercolor. But with oil, you have a drying time, so it doesn't dry immediately. Because I'm using this paint medium, luckily it speeds up the drying process, so I don't have to wait very long. Pretty much the next day it's dry, which is amazing. You would never get that without using it, because ordinarily I'd say maybe a week for me this paint tends to dry. With the Winsor & Newton, another sort of similar type of paints, I also used to use the Cobra water mixable. You're looking at less drying time than that, less than a week, maybe a few days, but these ones particularly take a long time to dry. So I'm really grateful for that. So I like to do as much detail as I can in the first layer, and I know a lot of people don't do that. They just want to do one layer. Sometimes they even do a layer of just opaque paint all over the canvas, and then next time they come back to their painting. But I just like to see what my painting looks like even at the beginning, so trying to get as many details onto the canvas as possible. And I'm using a canvas, a Winsor & Newton, and it is a canvas board. It's not that smooth, it has tooth, and that may not appeal to some people, because I don't know, I have used wood board before. I've been using it fairly recently, and that's probably the smoothest surface you can get. So if you really like a smooth surface, then board, wood board is the best route, I think. Or you can shave your canvas down. You can get some sandpaper and sandpaper your canvas if you find it's too rough. Or you can prime it with gesso. I always used to say gesso, but everyone seems to say gesso, so I'm saying gesso. And you can also put another layer of paint over it, and that will prime it again. And that will make the surface smoother. But I haven't done any of those things. I'm just going straight in. I like the slight tooth it has, and I may change my mind in the future, but at the moment I'm quite enjoying it. There's a bit of a jump between what you just saw, because my camera died and I'd recorded all this amazing footage of well, it wasn't necessarily amazing, but it was all the rest of the footage of my painting, and it's gone. So thank you, Canon camera, for dying on me. And now I'm just doing the depth in the water and making sure I get the darker colours and then lighter as it goes inwards towards the lily. This is the next day, by the way, so I'm coming in with the details now. So happily, I don't have to worry too much about the big areas. I'm just doing the sort of really tiny areas and the little small shadows and things. And I'm using the brush I'm using is actually an acrylic brush, and it's kind of a medium size. I don't know whether anyone else does this, but I literally, and I know it's terrible, but sometimes I just use one brush for my entire painting and I don't change my brush. And I know that's like a sin, and people and a lot of artists would tell me off, but because I just really like the flow. When I'm in the flow of painting, I sort of go into a dream and I drift off, and I tend to not change what I'm doing. I just go with it. And for that reason, I don't even really clean my brushes. I'll just continue. And even if there's some blue or some purple or pink or whatever left on my brush and I start using green, I don't let it affect me. I would just mix it until it disappears. So unconventional rules, but it's the way that I do things. Maybe I'll change and become more sophisticated in my painting style in the future, but at the moment it seems to be okay, I guess. And the palette that I'm using isn't a palette, it's a piece of paper. Another unconventional thing, I just have lots of scraps of paper and I fold them over so that there's it's a thick paper, doubled up paper, and then I will put the paint on it, and then after I've used the paint up, I will throw the tiny scrap of paper away. And the reason that I do that is because I don't tend to use very much paint when I'm painting. I try to take almost the exact amount that I will need, or I take less than I think I will need, and then I just add to it. And also, I tend to do more than one painting in one go. So if I've got some paint left, I will continue and grab another canvas and do something else. So that's my plot, and it's kind of worked so far. So I really hope you enjoyed this painting, this little lily on the lily pads. I will see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.